For an estimated 500 million girls and women across the world, insufficient access to menstrual hygiene products makes everyday activities like going to school or work nearly impossible. While now commonly known as period poverty, it also includes a lack of access to relevant education or the appropriate hygiene facilities and waste management. According to UNESCO, it affects as many as 1 in 10 women, mostly in developing countries. Still, it's a relatively under-discussed issue. 21-year-old Ella Lambert wanted to do something about it. As a British student, Lambert created the Pachamama Project, which unites over 1,000 volunteers from several countries to distribute reusable pads to refugees in Europe as well as in the Middle East. She joins me now for perspective. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Ella.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start with my first question that came to mind, which is why the Pachamama Project? What does that mean?
Well, Pachamama actually means Mother Earth in Spanish, and I'm a Spanish student, so for me it just felt like, you know, this really lovely image of sisterhood. It's like the goddess of menstruation for the people of the Andes, so it just tied in really well with what we were trying to do.
Okay, and so period poverty is one of the world's many problems that needs an urgent solution, but it's not often talked about. Why do you think that this is the cause? Or sorry, why do you think why this cause for you rather, excuse me?
Oh, for me? Well, for me, I've always suffered with extremely painful periods. When I was younger, I used to miss out on school every month. Used to have to cancel plans last minute. And so I've been really lucky. I've never been in a situation where I couldn't afford sanitary products, but I do know what it's like to miss out on really important events because of my period. And I really just genuinely believe that people shouldn't be missing out, you know, on the same education as their brothers, for example, just because they have a period.
And were you expecting it, Ella, to garner as much support as it has, your initiative?
Absolutely not. It has been an absolute whirlwind. It's been incredible. We started in August 2020 and we have made collectively over 40,000 pads. We have over 1,000 volunteers. We've supported 4,000 people to escape period poverty. And it really just started off as me, my mum and my best friend at the kitchen table making pads during the first lockdown. And it has just, you know, escalated so much, and I'm so thankful because we've been able to support so many more people because of it.
It's indeed extremely impressive to see how many volunteers you've been able to unite around the same cause, Ella. If I understand well, there's somewhat of a focus on refugees. Can you expand upon that?
I think for me it was like 500 million people worldwide deal with period poverty. Okay, so it's a huge number of people. Where do we start? And for me, refugees just seem like a really just practical solution. Like it seems like, you know, as people on the move, it's almost a given that these people are going to experience period poverty at some point because they don't have an income, they're moving from one place to another. And I thought if we can give them a product which is going to last, not just a one-off donation of disposable pads, but something that's going to last 3 to 5 years, then they don't have to worry again for that amount of time. And hopefully by that time they'll be more settled and in a situation where they can afford their own products. Or if not, they know who we are and they can come back to us and get another set.
I understand that your project also includes an opportunity for women to make income by producing their own reusable pads. Can you tell us more about that initiative?
Yeah, so we have a group in Lebanon and we have a group in Greece, and we basically have refugee women making the pads themselves. These are women who live in camps, so they don't have access to, you know, sustainable income, and so they're able to make the pads and then we can sell them on a donation for donation basis to earn them some money. But also, you know, as a way of teaching them about period poverty as well and teaching them about menstrual hygiene management and things like this. And we actually had this really incredible moment in Lesbos in Greece where I was working, and there were these teenage girls who were coming to the group sessions, I was going in there every 2 weeks. And initially they were in absolute hysterics at even the word period. They were absolutely cackling. It was hilarious. And, you know, with me going there every week, every couple of weeks, I slowly started to have this conversation with them about it, and they were watching some other women make the pads. And a couple of weeks later, one of the teenage girls came to me and said, can I make some, please? And I taught her how to make them, and she said, oh, this is going to be amazing. I can give them to my sister and my mum because we can't really afford them, and when I start my period, I'll be able to use them as well. And it went from this little girl who was just so hysterical at the idea of even the word to being completely comfortable with talking about the subject and actually wanting to make her own pads herself.
Ella, that actually is a great lead into another question that came to mind, which is that menstruation is often taboo, not only in Western countries, but also in many places in the developing world, which you kind of touched upon there. Have you faced any real difficulties in this respect?
I think it's always a difficult subject to broach. And it is so taboo, even, you know, in Western cultures as well. It's not just, you know, people seem to think that it will be just in refugee camps that people will struggle to talk about this. But, you know, I've had many conversations with people who, you know, sort of squeal with the discomfort of talking about periods. But yeah, I mean, what we found is that in Lebanon especially, it's such an issue. Like, people really, it's £17 for a pack of pads sometimes. People are really, really struggling to get hold of these. And so, yes, there is a little bit of discomfort when talking about the subject, but it's completely worth it for them. And, you know, they've become the most popular item in the free shop there because people are just so in need of sanitary products and sustainable sanitary products.
And Ella, so as you mentioned there, these products are sustainable. They're reusable pads. But how easy are they to use for women or girls who live in areas that don't necessarily have access to clean running water?
Yeah, so we just have to be really sensible with who we partner with and who the pads are going to. Unfortunately, period poverty does not have a, you know, one-fix-all solution. We wish it did, but we do just have to focus on communities who do have access to washing facilities or who have access to an NGO who will let them use their washing facilities. And so, for example, in Lebanon, the people are living in a refugee camp, but they do have washing machines, they do have access to running water, and we just make sure that's the case everywhere where we work. But yeah, it is difficult, and I think as organisations working on period poverty, we just have to know that this is we need to come up with multifaceted solutions, you know, and use a combination of approaches. Use disposable pads, but also reusable pads. Menstrual cups work really well, but in a lot of cultures it's extremely taboo, and so not something that can be used for everyone. And so, yeah, we just need to come at it really with all angles to fix this problem, because it's 500 million people worldwide that are dealing with this, and I don't think that many people know about it.
Well, Ella, it indeed sounds that you're not only informing people about such an important issue, but also really adopting an all-encompassing, multifaceted approach. We'll have to keep it there. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, and best of luck with the future of your organization.
Thank you so much for having me.